Hi everybody, welcome to today's video. We are going to talk about DMPCs quite a bit in today's video. 2 of our 3 stories are going to involve them, so let's jump right into it. Our first story is from user Nekama Michelle. I think I pronounced that correctly, and is titled DM Plays Favorites, and we're all second fiddle to his DMPC. DM posts an aquatic play-by-post campaign on Reddit. Everyone has to interview with him and another player who have been in his campaigns before. She will go by favorite. Everything seems great. DM seems chill. He said all the right things about his DMing style and approach to the DM-player relationship. Favorite sounds like a fun person to play with and says great things about him in his game. We start the campaign, and little by little, the warning signs develop. First, he makes DMPCs, 3 whole character sheets of them, the one sheet representing 3 people. The captain of the ship and the quest giver who goes everywhere with us, a DMPC. Now, not all of his DMPCs are always with us, but at least 2 always are. Okay, I'm gonna right off the bat just start us up here. I personally don't like DMPCs. If the party adopts an NPC, sure. Maybe we make a bigger character sheet for them so they can grow with the party. But DM should not be playing as a player as well as a DM. If the party wants an NPC with them, they should be an ancillary background character. I'm going to talk about DMPCs quite a bit though today. Second, there's the house rules. I don't love the house rules, but okay, whatever. They aren't overly terrible, even though I preferred it raw. His table, his rules. One of them is a critical fumble on saves. Later on, I rolled a nat 1 in an attack. He has me roll the table. I ask him, what table? He previously said it was only for saves. His response, it's for attack rolls too. And the new DMG talks about degrees of success and failure, which is true, except it also explicitly advises against fumbles for attacks. I never would have chosen an attack roll dependent class such as Warlock had I known that. Okay, not cool. They didn't clarify this ahead of time. You would think that would be a thing that would be clarified, especially given that they were kind of seemed like they had explained things relatively well, but I guess not. You know, they should have been like, hey, if you natural 1 for a save or an attack, you'll be rolling on this table. You know, adding things in later, depending on how your actual table of players goes, may be seen as a gotcha ultimately. And as a DM, you should try to avoid those. Nobody enjoys being felt like they gotcha'd. Fast forward, we're dividing magic item loot. It's made obvious that 1 item is intended for favorite. I comment that I don't trust the DM to be fair with magic items. He replies, I shouldn't. He doesn't do that in his games. Some players do better than others, but that's okay because the party as a whole benefits from 1 or 2 PCs that are strong. The one time my PC rolls amazingly while looking for loot, he rewards me with a weapon that's only at all useful for his DMPC. No. This is bullshit. That's how you end up with power creep. If the DM only rewards PCs that do well, especially if it's in regards to combat, you're going to end up with 1 or 2 PCs that hit like a fucking Mack truck, while the other PCs sit around and do way less, which then causes the DM to give out more items, so those more powerful PCs, which then gives an increasingly bigger disparity in power, because the ones who are getting better magic items are hitting more often and doing more damage and getting to do more cool stuff, while other people are just sitting around doing jack and diddly squat. Few people are going to want to sit around playing a fantasy game where you're supposed to be the heroes to watch one PC be the equivalent of One Punch Man because they got all of the really nice magical items from the DM. If you're going to give out magic items, you need to give them out equally. If you are trying to tailor items that will potentially interest your players, you also need to account for all players as well. So let's say, for example, you're tailoring a sword for your fighter. That's cool. Make sure that then the cleric in the party also gets something too that's useful for them. Even if that ends up being just a piece of armor or a utility magic item, make sure it's something that they'll be interested in. If a DM told me this at a table, that they don't give out magic items equally, I'd be very concerned, because that means they're playing favorites. And if they're playing favorites with magic items, they're going to play favorites with other things like rulings and such. And it's not going to be fun. Finally, we've been tracking the evil worm terrorizing the island. We get to the lair. DM asks if we want what he originally had in mind, or a much harder battle in exchange for better rewards. He tells us 1 or 2 PCs might die, but we can probably do it. We go for the challenge. In battle, the worm doesn't even enter initiative until his DMPCs get their turns. As soon as they take their turns, it uses a legendary action to burrow and hide. My turn comes up immediately after the legendary action. I move to spread out and hold an Eldritch Blast. He has it unburrow, so everyone but his DMPCs are in a conal attack. We make a DC 17 Dex save. We are all level 4, by the way. All but one fail, and we take 18 D6 damage. That wasn't a challenge, that was a guaranteed wipe. The one who saves gets knocked out anyways. One dies outright due to damage overflow. His original stated plan is that if one or more of us die, then we have to play a sidekick character sheet until he decides to introduce our new PCs. Either he realizes that having all of us wipe isn't a great idea, or that Favor is also wiped, he changes plans. We all play sidekicks to fight the monster and rescue our characters. Battle finally ends. PC who died somehow self-revives. DM tells me that he's reducing the party to 3 from 5. Self-revived PC made the cut somehow. That probably explains a lot. But I'm welcome to stay as a spectator and for him to maybe occasionally run one-on-ones with me. No, thank you. I'm not interested in spectating or playing C-Team, but thank you for making my decision to leave that much easier. Okay, let's unpack this. The DM being communicative about increasing the difficulty, as long as it's within reason, to give potentially more rewards is not at all a bad thing. Communication is always good, but to then favorite his DMPCs against an enemy that has a conal attack that does 18d6 damage, which we're talking about a ballpark of 60 damage, by the way, from one attack to multiple PCs, while also not having this enemy enter combat until after the DMPCs got their turn is bullshit. Then to course correct after wiping the party, he has dead players play sidekicks and then save their defeated PCs, which in and of itself isn't a horrible way to correct, but it just seems like this DM doesn't know how to balance and needed to save face with their favorite player. For me, the worst part is that the DM then kicked a number of players, including OP, and offered to let them spectate until he occasionally would do a one-on-one with them. Fuck that shit. I'm glad this DM made it easier for OP to leave the table. This is bullshit. Our next story is from Python Mom, titled Too Many DMPCs. This is partly a vent and post and partly a PSA to other DMs. DMPCs very rarely work, and most of the time it feels like the other players are having their time wasted. TLDR, DM's overpowered party of NPCs take over the plot and make us players feel like nothing we did mattered. To preface this, there were only 2 players, myself and my boyfriend, with our friend being the DM. He made a very sandbox world where we could kind of go wherever and do whatever, which was super fun in the beginning. I played a drow hexblood sorcerer and my boyfriend was a goblin warlock. And I should point out that everyone in this game world is racist towards goblins, so my boyfriend had a mask of many faces to disguise himself as a gnome basically all the time so NPCs aren't put off by us. And apparently no one knows what a drow is, so that's neat. Anyway, we are a squishy bunch, and we went in with wanting to do an evil, quote-unquote, campaign, though we were mostly just chaotic neutral. We escaped from my adoptive hag mother and wanted to make some money since we had none. We tried to be merchants, then we were stealing stuff, etc. But my boyfriend's character had this weird treasure map as one of his trinkets, so goal was to find that treasure. Yada yada, we played like 7 or 8 sessions and it was a lot of fun, but then the DMPCs came in. Okay, so perhaps the start of the DMPCs was to maybe give the party a tank or something like that. I can understand trying to balance encounters for 2 PCs, especially 2 squishy PCs, can be very difficult. So wanting to give them a quote-unquote sidekick to soak up hits could be very tempting. I'm also hoping by chaotic neutral, OP here doesn't mean chaotic stupid. I'm going to assume not, because they were referring to chaotic neutral regarding it playing necessarily in an evil campaign, and not to how their characters were like kind of acting overall here. But if they're too far off the rails, I could also see the DM wanting to use DMPCs to kind of railroad them, though I would never recommend a DM actually do that. If you, as a DM, find yourself needing to add balance to party encounters due to perhaps a lack of a tank or whatever, offer to your players to allow them to hire quote-unquote henchmen that can help round out the party. That can offer an interesting story beat and will also allow you as a DM to potentially balance your combat better. Let's continue our story though. So we found out the treasure was on this remote island full of elementals. We took a ship to get there, and on the ship were 4 adventurers, a monk, a paladin, a wizard, and a cleric. We as characters are self-aware enough to know we need help on this dangerous island, so we try to talk to the party to be allies with them. They don't want to talk much or want nothing to do with us. Okay, that's fine. Clearly they're just here for flavor or something like that. Well, the ship gets attacked by air elementals, my character got trapped in a room somehow, and my boyfriend's character was trying to hit them from the stairs so he wouldn't get hit. I eventually got out, but the two of us really didn't do much. The fight was too long because the DM played through each of his NPC's turns, and they ultimately were the ones who won the fight. Doesn't feel great. So perhaps the PCs were maybe rude to these NPCs, though that isn't what I really think happened here. It's a little weird that NPCs that are meant to be flavor or dressing for a scene would end up being the main characters in the combat encounter. And when I, of course, mean flavor or dressing, I mean these NPCs are maybe meant to die to set the expectation that the island's super dangerous or something like that, or maybe to hint at upcoming encounters around the bend. So, for example, let's assume they crash on the island and they find the monk later dead in a puddle of water, clearly having coughed up a ton of water from his lungs. Possible death was drowning. This would maybe hint to the players he was attacked by, say, water elementals or something like that. But the DM should not have had 4 NPCs in a combat encounter like this, especially fully built NPCs that seem to be based around classes. When I personally do combats, I try to never outnumber my PCs with NPCs if I can. If I do, it's usually because I'm having the enemies being more simplistic minions that just get one attack. That way we keep combat flowing. I always aim for my PCs to be engaged and combat to constantly be moving. I don't want to stagnate. I don't want to give people a reason to be on their phone. We want to keep things going. We also only have so much time to play, so we want to make the most of it. Story goes, though. Same thing when we get to the island. We ask to travel with them. Wizard wants nothing to do with us. Monk is an asshole. The paladin pities us. And I tried to be friends with cleric, but she was shy and didn't talk much. It was like trying to roleplay with a wooden board. They eventually agree to escort us to the treasure if we help them find their friend. So we do that, have a fight with the water elemental that brought me to 0 HP. Then Ex Machina NPC that the DMPCs were looking for comes in and saves the day, even fully healing me. That's fine. Sometimes DM intervention is fine, but it was really annoying because it felt like we couldn't get this fight this living lake monster, and only the super special magic awesome guy is the one who can easily rid us of it. Sounds like this is very quickly moving into PCs are side characters and the DM is actually writing an adventure novel. If you, as a DM, are not happy with how your players are interacting with the world, say they're being very chaotic and all over the place, you should sit down and have a conversation about what expectations you would like there to be regarding playstyle. Some players want to be very chaotic and change their whims like shifting breeze, never tied down to a story beat. Others want a very tight and focused campaign with very little sway. Communicate how you want to play. Don't, as a DM, shove an entire adventuring party into the campaign as NPCs and force your players to be side characters for this arc, especially when the island is literally tied to one of the PC's backstory trinkets. Also, if your PCs are being polite, don't hurt them for RPing, like RP, unless there's some important story reason perhaps or something like that. Having multiple NPCs that should at the very least be amicable outright ignore the party is unreasonable. This is a quick way to get your PCs to stop interacting with the world and have them shut down. Though the DM probably does want this so they can play out their own personal story here with a 2-person audience that's in person. So we found their friend, and the party helps us find the treasure spot, along with a different NPC who is apparently a god or something equivalent. He also doesn't talk much and doesn't really like us. Once we get the treasure, he magically poofs us all back to the mainland, to the party's main base that is a church to the Phoenix or something. It seems he wanted to shoehorn that plot point at some point, but did it in the worst possible way. Having DMPCs that are more powerful than the players just feels bad. Like, why are we even playing then if these guys are going to solve all our problems? We didn't have to stay with them, but we would have been dead otherwise. And the DM's a bit of a power gamer, so of course they all had perfect stat blocks. I get he probably wanted to help us, but like, just give us a healer then, or a tank. Not all of these guys. We basically did nothing but follow them around the whole time and felt like children. Was not fun. I think the DM just really wanted to play by himself. We have since stopped playing with this DM, but for an entirely different reason that has nothing to do with this game. I have another post about him as a player in my campaign and how all that went to shit because of his main character syndrome. Always, 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 I will always tell you, if you ever find yourself in a situation like this, or if you don't like how something's going, or you feel like you're being treated unfairly, it does not hurt to communicate your concerns. It doesn't have to be publicly, but you definitely do, at least privately with your DM, want to communicate and have a conversation. It should be a two-way street. Perhaps the DM means well and they potentially just overbalanced here, though I think that really isn't the case. I think they really wanted to get to tell a story. The PCs were maybe perhaps a bit too chaotic for them, so they dropped an entire party in the campaign to play out the story that they really wanted to originally. Again, all of this probably could have been avoided if conversations had taken place and if the DM didn't also want to hog the spotlight with DMPCs. As a DM, I highly, highly, highly recommend you do not have DMPCs in the party. The only time you should have anything close to this in the party is an NPC, and they need to be a background character that only speaks when spoken to and does not steal the spotlight. These types of NPCs should only exist in instances where the party decides to, quote, adopt an NPC, or they go out and hire an NPC to help with a quest. Never in any other situation. You are the DM, your players are the players, they need to be separate. Always. Hey guys, I don't want to put an ad in or anything like that. I just kind of wanted to let you guys know I do stream on Twitch. I do stream during the weekdays and usually on the weekends too. Usually about 7 to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. I would love to get to hang out with you guys if you are down. Links will be in the description. Again, I'm trying not to like shove an ad in here or anything. Anyway, I'm just trying to promote this streaming I'm doing and stuff like that. So if you guys are interested, please do follow me. I would love to get to hang out with you guys. If not, thank you guys so much for listening. Let's jump into the next story. Thanks, guys. Okay. Thank you guys all for hanging in there. Our last story for the day is from user Exa92. I believe I pronounced that correctly. Titled, Fool Me Once, Shame on You. Fool Me Twice, Shame on Me. I just need to get this off my chest. I had this friend who I used to be really close with. We built a local Worm gaming group together. He introduced me to Warhammer 40k and I got him into Dungeons & Dragons. I've been the DM for him, his partner, and some of his kids, and my partner as well. The campaign has always gone well. Everyone is very visual, so I print out item cards for loot, I give them mystery dice bags, and 3D print minis for their characters and for monsters. I put a lot of effort into making the game fun and immersive. We usually play at his house since he has kids. That means I carry around 4 bags every session with everything I need to run the game. I even modified a published module to be more combat focused because that is what they enjoy. Starting us off here, this is really cool and really nice. A DM that prints out custom minis, gives out mystery dice bags, and goes way beyond the extra mile to create visual aids is awesome, and I love to see all the creativity that comes out for people who play D&D, just beyond the story making and crafting and the characters and all that. I love seeing all the creativity with D&D. Things then took a turn. We had a great session where they beat the boss, or a boss, excuse me, and I had them roll for loot. I used an AI-generated table that matched the items I had ready. Most of the players got decent stuff. He got a superior healing potion. Nothing wrong with that. We're talking about problem player here. But then he suddenly started ranting, saying it was unfair and that everyone always got better loot, and that I somehow was screwing him over. None of that was true. The loot was randomized, and his partner usually ends up with potions too. He stormed off and left the room. It got awkward, so my partner and I packed up and left. I figured I would give him some space to cool down, but instead of talking to me, he started stirring up other issues. Out of nowhere, he posted in our 40k community group about wanting to charge people for every session at the club. This really caught me off guard because we had previously agreed to only charge enough to cover basic costs. The whole idea was to keep the hobby accessible and help it grow, not turn it into a money-making thing. We even had a meeting where we all agreed on this approach, so it felt like he was just throwing that out the window without consulting anyone. 2 things here. 1. It sounds like maybe this person feels like they're being screwed over, which is very adamant from when they're written. If you as a player feel that way, have a conversation on the side with your DM. Don't explode and walk off. There is a chance your DM is doing things randomly, like the case here, and you've been getting the short end of the stick. It happens. RNG will fuck you sometimes. A productive conversation like that, though, where you say and tell your DM, hey, I don't feel like I've been getting the kind of items I would like to get. A productive conversation like this could give your DM the notice they need to maybe curate the items a little bit more to suit your preferences or what you're hoping to get. Number 2, it is not cool to start charging more for club stuff or 40K. So for those of you who are unaware, Warhammer 40K is a tabletop war game system. It's a grimdark sci-fi setting where players build and battle armies on tabletop. The game is really well known for being quite expensive to get into, with some armies costing a couple $100 to even upwards of over $1,000 to play at the standard tournament point value, which is 2,000 points. It can be hard to have a community in a lot of places like that because of the cost to get into the scene. So charging more with really no valid reason will potentially put a really big squeeze on the local player base and could completely fuck over everybody's ability to play the game. The next day, I saw him walking out of the venue we use for the club, carrying a bunch of terrain. He told me he had cleared it with another organizer. I checked and found out that was not true. He then said it was his terrain and he was taking it back. We were told it had been donated. I messaged the guy who donated it and he said it was a donation, but meant for the other guy to manage, so I let it go. But the issue is that this guy does not communicate. He just acts without saying anything to anyone. Then he messaged our D&D group saying he was dropping out and we could no longer play at his place. He said his partner and kid would keep playing, could keep playing, but we had to find a new venue. That upset me. I do not like conflict, so I tried to apologize and work things through. Nothing worked though, so I gave it time. Eventually he started talking to me again and came back to play 40K. After about 6 months, we started D&D again. We played 3 sessions and everything seemed fine. Then I heard from another organizer that he was again talking about changing the club venue. Once again, he had not mentioned anything to anyone. Or to me. Not mentioned anything to me. He had spoken to every other organizer except me. I was frustrated, but I stayed respectful. I posted in the group chat listing the pros and cons of moving venues. I did not shut down his idea. I just wanted to open discussion. So, this person clearly has a communication issue, which for me would be a cause of concern for someone being allowed to play at my table. Uncomfortable conversations can be very difficult, especially if what you are saying may make it seem like the person you are talking to has fucked up in some way. But I personally try to keep an open, casual environment where constructive criticism is allowed and welcomed. I'd be doubly concerned about being friends with this person if they were also doing shady shit in the Warhammer 40K club we both helped run. Let's wrap this story up though. Privately, he told me to get off my high horse. I was just trying to make sure we communicated properly and made decisions as a group. If he had already talked to everyone else, all he had to do was post in the organizer chat and ask for a vote. I even offered to leave the group if I was causing him so much trouble. Instead, he quit the organizer group again, said D&D no longer could be hosted at his house, and then blocked me. I am just tired. I always try to be the one who apologizes and keep things peaceful, but no matter what I do, it feels like I am the one getting burned. All I wanted was for him to talk to the group before making decisions. That is it, and somehow that makes me the bad guy. OP needs to drop this friend, or in this instance, not allow them back into their life, as they've kind of already removed themselves from their life for this moment, but I feel like down the line they might try to get back in. So just don't let them back in. I would personally find a new table to play D&D for, perhaps that 40K, not 40 gay, though there's a lot of jokes about gays and 40K. For the 40K group may be a good place to find new players. A lot of 40K players do enjoy D&D, like tabletop and getting to hang out and play stuff. So that could be a place to look for new people for your table. And I would definitely talk with the 40K club about not letting this guy step foot in again. He's clearly going to be a problem. I understand OPs want to keep things peaceful and be willing to apologize, but you can only bend over backwards so far for people. And in some instances, if you bend over backwards too much, people will walk all over you. Hopefully, OP can find new players to run and their games with, and hopefully that 40K club wasn't hurt too much by that guy leaving. Let's wrap ourselves up though. Alrighty guys, thank you guys so much for hanging out. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you also enjoyed and you're not yet subscribed, so that way it pops up in your home screen in your inbox. Comment down below as well. Don't forget to do that. I'd love to hear stories. Have you dealt with DMPCs before? What are your experiences with that? Don't forget to check me out on Twitch. I hope you guys enjoyed the new scenery. We're trying something new here. We might go back to the old tavern, but I figure we try something new just to see what it looks like. So let me know as well down in the comments below. Do you like the scenery here? Do you hate it? I don't know. Just let me know. I love to get to hear from you guys. I will see you guys all in the next one, though. Have a good one, everybody. Damn, dude. Are you okay? Shit. Allie's doing well. Fucking orc is just going off, my dude. I don't know if y'all can hear it. It's fucking annoying me. Step down. They don't love you like I love you. Can't you see there's no other man above you? What a wicked way to treat the girl that loves you. Hold up. They don't love you like I love you. Step down. They don't love you. Ooh, my God. Hold on. Let me back up a smidge here. Classy. Cut that.